So, we need to have a talk about Jacob Rees-Mogg, because this is a guy who, he's following a uncomfortable pattern, and it's the same pattern that Trump repeated. You know, the politics in the UK is becoming a really uncomfortable situation of where people who are potentially dangerous are laughed at like clowns, and then they get elected. Take Boris Johnson, for example. Boris Johnson, yeah, we've all seen the, you know, hilarious, stupid photos, and one recently where he was on a speedboat coming up the Thames. And we all remember his, you know, performance he did on Not the 9 O'Clock News, what, 10 years ago now? But here is a guy who continuously, we have been told by other countries, is an absolute idiot. People hate him. He is the most hated foreign chancellor we have ever had. You know, it's unbelievable. But there he is. He is in that position because we laughed at him. But his ideas are, you know, he's quite right-wing. And it's the same for Mogg. This is a guy who has continuously voted against gay marriage, not for personal reasons or anything like that, but because of his deep-held Christian belief. He has continuously voted against anti-abortion bills, something that we should have solved, which we have solved years ago. Now, you can argue bits and pieces, but anyone in this country, if they need, you know, or want an abortion, they can have it. They have access to it. You only have to look at, you know, Ireland, where you have women from, you know, the Republic of Ireland travelling to Northern Ireland to get abortions because they don't have access to it. If someone like Rees-Mogg got in power, it wouldn't be a bill that just kills abortion instantly. It would be a slow erosion over time. Just like what was happening in America. You have a situation in America which I find shocking. The state of Kentucky only has one abortion clinic left, and that is literally fighting to stay alive. What will the women of Kentucky do when they need an abortion? Because now they can't have it in Kentucky. They've got to go outside of the state to try and get one. And what about the women who can't? And then you might be thinking, well, okay, he's not for abortion. Does he want to maybe improve social services? Because, you know, you're going to end up with a lot more people in, you know, adopted babies, foster care. No, he doesn't want to increase that at all. He has continuously voted against any increases and said himself he wants deeper cuts to the social state and social welfare that people receive. He is even, as far as I am aware, I am not 100% confirmed this, he tried to get his local food bank shut down. This is a man who is the butt of late night talk shows and panels here in the UK. But this is an incredibly dangerous guy who, just like Trump, could end up being in power and do some real damage to people's lives if he actually gets in power. Now, literally, there was a poll done too long ago about, with, you know, Conservatives, who they wanted to be the successor to Theresa May. Guess who it was? Yep, it was the Mogster. This is not a guy who, you know, yeah, it's funny to, you know, make him an internet meme and whatever. But at the end of the day, this guy has a lot of really dangerous ideas. And you have to start defeating his ideas. Because if his ideas become mainstream, that's when it becomes dangerous. And he is following the exact same path as Trump. When he was asked about this, he denied it. But he was emphatic about stating his Leave credentials and that he was a rebellious Tory, that he was a Tory outsider. Just like Trump said in the US elections. He is following the exact same pattern. The problem is you have to fight people like this on, you have to fight them on the war of ideas, and his ideas are just, outright playing awful and terrible. He also wants to, increase the privatisation of the NHS. In fact, I suspect he wants to get rid of it completely. There is, every single one of his ideas are just absolutely awful, and terrible. I haven't heard a single good one he's come out with. But here you have a guy who could potentially be the next leader of the Tory party, potentially the next Prime Minister. And if his, ideas, remember, when you're the leader of the party, you get control of Chief Whip. And your Chief Whip is basically designed to say, to get your party in line, to vote how how the party wants to vote. So, it's very rarely that MPs will go against the whip, but they do on occasion. And if, he's the guy that's cracking the whip, what laws could get passed? Are we going to talk about restrictive abortion laws? Or are we going to talk about even deeper cuts to social, to the welfare state? And things like that? Are we going to talk about even more, privatisation of the NHS, putting even more strain on the state? It's terrifying how actually close this guy is actually to power, and we need to start talking about him seriously, and not just laughing at his ideas, but saying, okay, this is why his ideas are bad. And that if he ever had actual power to try and implement these ideas, this is why it's bad. Now you might be saying, well, it's okay to make, fun of people and, not their ideas. Well, look what happened at the last election. You had the papers and pretty much everyone who was against Corbyn not attacking him on his ideas, on, what he was, saying, and, the policies that he was, suggesting. People were just attacking him to attack him, to make fun of him. The Sun ran the infamous, Corbyn headline. And what happened? The Labour Party is now a hair's breadth away from being in power. So be careful what happens when you make fun of people, because even though I like Jeremy Corbyn, I want him to be Prime Minister because I think he'd be quite interesting for this country. Just making fun of someone and not being able to attack them on an ideas and an ideological plane, that's far worse. If you can't attack them on that and you're just resorting to making fun of them, that doesn't help. That will in many cases aid the person, as has been shown very clearly in our last election, the EU referendum with Nigel Farage, where he was saying all this stuff like migrants spread HIV, and he got away with it because he has a laugh like Sid James and had a pint in his hand, and then his critics were announced as, oh, they're just boorish. But that's the unfortunate state our politics is getting into. It's become a circus that is no longer funny. And the clowns are starting to run the show. And when that happens, the big top comes down. And it won't be a good thing.